Hi, today we're going to talk about and address rather bluntly the 5 reasons that people are metabolically blocked from losing the weight they want to lose. Let's get to it. Or said this another way, the 5 secrets to dropping your excess weight forever, for those of you who have that as your focus. I call these fatal lifestyle secrets, 1 through 5. So the first one is processed foods hijacks your brains, gets you addicted, and keeps you from burning fat. None of that is exaggeration, by the way. Here we go. Processed foods are full of highly engineered additives. Food companies are in essence putting drugs in your foods. That's not a coincidence. That's not an exaggeration. The correct name for this is food additive addiction or refined food addiction. And that's not me saying that. That came out a few years ago to The Guardian. Stop calling food addictive. The food's not addictive. It's what they put in the food that makes it addictive. You've been trained. It's all changed. In the 1980s, obesity started to rise, and this is just a graph showing that before that we ate food. After this, we ate this rather saturated, caloric-rich, nutrient-poor, extruded material called processed foods. This actually has a lot to do with the nutritional guidelines that were passed just in the mid-70s, and I've gone over this in a number of other videos, so I'm not going to go into it again. But one of the things, in addition to the additives that are added to your food, was the percent of omega-6 increased dramatically. Remember, 100 years ago or 150 years ago, it was a 1-to-1 ratio for men, for people, men in general, human and women, humankind, or humans. It was 1-to-1. Right now, it's 14-to-1 to 20-to-1 to 25-to-1. I've seen all 3 of those. So omega-6 increased, omega-3 decreased. It's the second thing that's going on in those processed foods. And this just sort of shows this, and for those who watched before, you've seen this before. Soy is just skyrocketing. Here's the soy oils, the red. And we have other things that are going down. Okay, this is sort of a larger timeline. World War I, World War II. It really all started post-World War II. The Eisenhower years, he had 4 heart attacks while he was in office. And so from Ancel Keys, he started the war on saturated fats and increased polyunsaturated, and that was the first. 2 studies are out there fraudulently done, upon which the United States, and hence the world, has based their nutritional guidelines since the early 80s on those 2 studies. Other videos I did on this. Okay, so this is what's going on, and that is all documented if you want to chase those facts down. Okay, here's another example of linolenic acid going up. Came primarily from soy, but it also had corn oil was the other one. Started in there's a comparison from 1909 to 1999, pretty much 100 years. And you can just see it bolting up from the 70s and 80s, and that was the 50s. Other examples are high phosphates in processed foods, sodas, frozen foods, packaged meats, bread, bakery items. They block your ability to burn fat. They increase your blood pressure, and they reduce your motivation to exercise. So where does that leave you? On the sofa with your clicker watching, maybe not your clicker, that's kind of outdated now, isn't it? Watching TV or on your computer. Fast food shrinks your brain and leads to insulin resistance and neurodegeneration. If you're interested in any labs on these things, go to the lab section of our videos. So eating processed food, which you've been trained to do, is like a greyhound chasing a fake rabbit around the racetrack, which he or she has been trained to do. Completely driven by an addiction to chemicals designed to stimulate an all-out craving in the dogs. They've been trained that. They weren't just the best and fastest dogs. They were the ones that responded most quickly to these particular chemicals, knowing that they could really tighten that addiction. So they're really going to want to go get that fake rabbit. So your love of, desired for processed fast foods has been trained in you over the years, since childhood. It's time to get off that track completely, don't you think? And relax. Catch your breath anyway. Fatal lifestyle secret number 2. Medications that manage lifestyle diseases stop you from burning fat, no matter how much you exercise. Here's an example. Medications are like pesticides. Initially beneficial, but lose effectiveness over time. Other pests adapt to it, requiring additional pesticides. Medications, exactly the same, become less effective too. Your body adapts to it, requiring more or stronger ones for whatever condition you are on. That's why there's always a backup of 5 to 10 or 15 medications. And all those have side effects as well that require yet more medications. Medications create nutrient deficiencies. This is well documented. Will cause weight gain, increase the likelihood of diabetes. In the US, on average, people in their 50s take 4 to 6 medications daily. Amazing. That's why the pharmaceutical company is so big, so successful, quote unquote, successful. Specific examples. These medications cause cardiovascular drugs, antihypertensive for blood pressure. They cause CoQ10 deficiencies, B6, zinc, B1. What about ACE inhibitors? We're hearing a lot about ACE inhibitors, especially relative to COVID. And these are the brand names, by the way. So they cause zinc deficiency, which makes you actually more vulnerable to COVID. Beta blockers, they block CoQ10, not good for your heart. So all these lead to these conditions, and this sounds like one of those quickly read advertisements, but various cardiovascular problems, weak immune system, low energy, depression, sleep disturbance, increased cardiovascular disease risk, weak immunity, wound healing, sense of smell, taste, dysfunction, depression, irritability, memory loss, muscle weakness, edema, weak immunity, wound healing, sense of smell, taste, sexual dysfunction, getting worse, various cardiovascular problems, weak immune system, low energy. That will require further medications, so on and so forth. Rinse and repeat. There's another road to consider that leads to better health, of course. Fatal lifestyle secret number 3, carbohydrate toxicity. And I didn't make up that word either. Stops your metabolism from burning fat. Carbotoxicity. Noxious effects of carbohydrates. The definition of noxious. Physically harmful or destructive to living beings. From one of the top scientific journals, Cells, reporting that the old way of thinking about carbohydrates is dangerous. It's not just about calories. So all calories are not equal. I hope you know that, right? These are your macros, or your proteins, your whole food sources of protein, your oils, your fats, and then your carbohydrates. That's your refined carbohydrates. So it's different fuels. And both are cars. They either burn gas or they burn electric. What about glucose and fat? Both are metabolic fuels for us. The lie has been exposed and it's time to make a change. Good calories, bad calories, big fat surprise, big fat lie. These are all books that have been out for a while now. So the choice is yours. Lifestyle secret number 4, low muscle mass severely limits your ability to burn fat, otherwise known as sarcopenia. Simple truth is, if you don't have the muscle, you can't burn the fat for about 95% of it. Muscle mass is like a fire pit. Size matters. It determines how much fuel you can burn, even when you're not exercising. You need an adequate amount. You don't need to be hypertrophied. You don't need to be the muscle buff guy, or woman. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying you need to have an appropriate amount to make your metabolism work. Not only to make it so you don't fall over randomly, but that's after age 25, our culture in the United States today becomes progressively more and more sarcopenic. People with low muscle mass have 35% higher levels of insulin resistance, which means greater difficulty in burning fat than other people who have higher muscle mass. Low muscle mass, otherwise known as sarcopenia or skinny fat, is the highest risk of all-cause mortality, means dying from anything. Low muscle mass is a cause of low testosterone. Low testosterone is a cause of obesity. It sounds kind of circular, doesn't it? All right, how to fix this? Regardless of gender, from heavy to lean, this is completely doable, but we have to impose a change in our behavior. We have to learn what we need to do. Okay, the effect of weight loss on testosterone levels. The greater the weight loss, the greater the testosterone increase. Pretty straightforward. You lose the weight, testosterone goes up. This is primarily how it looks in men. In women, it is slightly different. Women, it's to get a little technical, the sex hormone binding globulins that is reduced as their weight gains. That tends to make it so there's actually more available free testosterone, but all in all, it's less testosterone if you add the two groups, the bound and the unbound. That leads them to a thing called PCOS or hirsutism when they get facial hair. But it's a similar mechanisms, often just slightly different in how it's expressed. Building muscle, it's the effort you exert, the intensity. It's the intensity, not how long or how often you go to work out that creates the muscle mass. Got 30 minutes per week? If you did 15 minutes twice a week with high intensity training, a whole nother video, this will give you the muscle mass that you're after. And you start there, and it's something you'll have to do for the rest of your life. 15 minutes twice a week. We do more than that, but it's not much more than that. Fatal lifestyle secret number 5, low testosterone will limit your ability to burn fat. Okay then, obesity and low testosterone. Obese men are more likely to have low testosterone, but exercise, losing weight, decreasing your carbs will increase your testosterone levels. That's a kind of good trade. Why testosterone is important. Low testosterone causes increase in body fat, making losing weight very difficult, and is associated with increased rates of depression, increased inflammation, specifically joint pain, dementia, weaker bones, poor libido, high insulin, low testosterone. Carb toxicity. Too many carbs for you to handle creates high insulin. That in turn decreases testosterone. Oh yeah? Yes, definitely. These are some of the panels I run on the people that I work with, and this is just one little piece in this green box. And what this is showing is this male, 55, who's overweight, is that he has, being measured, basically no testosterone. But actually, he's producing testosterone because he's overweight and insulin resistance. He has so much insulin that it impedes this particular enzyme. So it converts it in nanoseconds to estrogen. So you'll notice he's roaringly high in estrogen. So consequently, what does he look like? Well, he's overweight and he has developed breast. He has gynecomastia. So now it's up to him to develop this. It's slightly different expressed in women, of course. It's a different story. I kept it primarily on men for this particular example. Okay, so the choice is yours. Losing weight, exercise, lower your carbs, get off unnecessary medications. Increasing testosterone, lose weight, resistance training, decrease carb toxicity, remove the need for medications. That's how you would increase it. If you want to decrease your testosterone, keep doing what you're doing. Age, can't do much about that. High insulin, obesity, low muscle mass, elevated blood sugar, side effects of medications. Secret number 1, processed food hacks your brain, gets you addicted and makes you fat and shrinks your brain. Number 2, medications create nutrient deficiencies that keep you from burning fat. Number 3, carbohydrate toxicity blocks your metabolism from burning fat. Number 4, low muscle mass severely limits your ability to burn fat. Low testosterone severely limits your ability to burn fat. You aren't overweight because you eat too much. You eat too much because you're overweight. Since you can't burn the fat you have no choice but to keep eating or starve, trying to satisfy your hunger, your energy need. That's why people say, I'm always hungry. I'm always hungry. Yes, you're always hungry. Up next, how to address this. Now you know the fatal 5 lifestyle factors. How did this start? Don't let this be you, man or woman. And there's plenty of us that look just like this. That are difficulty going up those stairs, they lose their breath. Way too young for that to happen. But how did this happen? Well, there was once you were normal weight, you got heavier, became obese, much worse. And guess what? It's not really about the weight. It started slowly. Let's say you were 25, you had normal weight. You started to have less activity, increasing more stress from your job, dietary changes, more processed foods, antibiotics, medications prescribed. Then you got a little heavier. Then you became overweight and your muscle mass declined. Nutrient deficiencies appeared unknown to you because either you weren't taking them in through processed foods and or the medications. Testosterone decreased from processed food, medications, low muscle mass, stress, environmental toxins. At obese, your stress hormones continued to rise. Daily blood sugar was higher, blood pressure was higher. You became pre-diabetic and had signs of fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver at that. Your liver and pancreas had to work harder. You started a 2nd or 3rd medication to manage it. Wow, it got worse. This process needs to change. It's time to lose the weight and go back to who you were. It's all very achievable. You're not a forgotten person. You're just a buried person. And it's time to put this in reverse for women and for men. I just wanted to add that if losing weight, losing excess fat is really something you're focused on, and this is your goal right now, your objective right now in your life, then you really might want to look at this particular video to explore that further. Okay? Talk to you later.